Hey everybody, I hope you're well. Soul guitar. It's one of those genres that will have huge benefits for your playing no matter what style you currently play. You have to think about how to use all the different registers, how to play so you're not getting in the way of other instruments, how to use great dynamics, attack, timing. There's tons to study here. It's all fun. Before we get started, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave a comment for me as well. All the info you need is in the box below. In this video, I'm going to teach you 4 key soul guitar concepts. Let's start off by listening to a track with all the guitar parts in, and then I'm going to teach you everything broken down individually. Here we go. Now, normally in soul guitar, you will find layered guitars. You sometimes will find tracks with 3 or 4 parts like this one, but it can tend to get a little bit cluttered if you overlay too much. So what we'll do now is we'll focus really on learning each part individually so you can get more of a sense of how it would fit into a track and where you can use it. Guitar 1 is simply about setting a foundation for all the other instruments, so we're going to double the bass line, which is a really common approach in soul guitar. It's a great lesson for the ears as well, because when you're playing in this genre, you have to listen to what everything else around you is doing in case you have to double it, be it a bass part, a horn part, or whatever. Let's take a look at this part isolated in the mix, and then I'll teach you the parts on their own. Guitar 2 is octaves. Again, a really common device in soul guitar. You'll hear this in tracks like I Want You Back by the Jackson 5. These are great devices to use because they serve several functions. Effectively, you're creating a really percussive, melodic part that doesn't get in the way of everything else, but adds interest. Couple of important things when using octaves though. You need to make sure that your part is consistent, otherwise it can start to sound cluttered. So find a rhythm that works all the way through and stick with it. Secondly, technique-wise, they're quite tricky. If you don't get the octaves played cleanly, you'll get all the other strings ringing out and it'll just sound like a big mess. When you're playing octaves, it's all about fretting hand muting and picking hand attack. I'm playing these octaves to begin with on strings 4 and 2 with the index and the 4th finger, but I'm using other fingers to mute the strings around them. So these will give me dead strings, and only the 2 notes that I want to play will actually sound. When it comes to the right hand, unless you're doing the Wes Montgomery thumb thing, octaves typically sound good with a really strong percussive attack. So let's hear it in the track, and then I'll teach you those parts on their own. Guitar 3 is a part that's really inspired by Steve Cropper, who's a master of playing in that higher register up on strings 3, 2 and 1. Now the chord progression for this track is simply G major, F major and C major, a very common soul progression. However, if you start playing the chords down in those kind of bar chord shapes, you'll get a big, thick, dark, muddy sound that'll just clutter everything, particularly the low end. What Steve Cropper does so effectively is play up on the higher registers so he can play chords, but they really cut through. However, he'll often put chords in between the basic chord structure to add some interest. Listen to a track like Soul Man, for example, and you hear a lot more going on. When you've learned this part, have a go at revoicing these triads on the same 3 strings. So find different inversions of these chords and then try and connect them and put chords in between each one. Let's hear it in the mix and then let's see how it works on its own. This last guitar part is a melodic figure, and you'll hear this kind of playing in everything from soul and funk to pop and reggae as well. Typically, this kind of guitar part is called bubbling, and that just means that you're creating a short, simple melody that adds a little bit of interest and maybe even serves as a hook. The key thing when playing these kind of figures is, as before with everything else, keep the rhythm consistent, keep the melody fairly sparse. You don't want to make it into a solo, and it's not a lick, it's kind of somewhere in between those things. But think melodically, and as with all melodies, repetition and simplicity often works the best. Let's hear the bubbling part on its own, and then I'll teach this one to you. It's quite easy to set up a sound for soul. Typically, soul guitar players are using Telecaster, Strats, or some kind of 335. I'm playing an Epiphone Sheraton 2 here, but I've changed the pickups to Radioshop pickups, so it's got a bit of a punchier sound. I'm using a Kemper, but I'm just using a Fender Princeton profile. Anything like that, anything Fendery is very common in this genre. Princeton reverbs, deluxe reverbs, so it's quite straightforward. Clean tone, or maybe clean with a bit of grit. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope that's helpful. Remember, soul guitar is one of those styles that crosses over into many genres. Listen to pop music, you'll often hear soul-inspired guitar parts in there. It's all about staying out of the way while still saying something. I'm going to put the backing track at the end of this video so you can have a jam along. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.